let's talk about the hot topic today, which is prices. Prices of real estate. You might have seen the headlines, CNBC, CNN, New York Times. Are prices crashing? Is the real estate market headed for another 2008? There's fear and there's clickbait out there everywhere. They're just trying to sell you something. So let's look at the facts. Let's look at the supply and the demand of Santa Cruz County, and then we'll be able to figure out where prices have been and where they're going. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen here. Just got a nice graph of supply. So this is supply for Santa Cruz County this year. This is active listings for all of 2022. You can see that we started the year around 150 active listings, which is super, super low for our county. And that's why we're seeing these crazy bidding wars and prices and, houses for selling for $500,000 more than they were listed for and stuff like that. It's all due to supply and demand. So we've got supply here. And now let's go up to where it really starts inflecting upwards, which is around April and May, June of this year. Now, what was happening during that time? Well, we had the Ukraine war going on. We had inflation numbers coming out that were really scary. And we had Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell coming out and starting to talk dirty to us and saying that we really need to raise rates on you guys because inflation is starting to run away and get out of control. So there's all this negative economic news going on at that time. And so what are sellers thinking? They're thinking, I've seen the prices appreciate in the last 2 years. I better sell my home right freaking now to cash in on some of this appreciation that I've seen. And everyone saw that and started doing that at the same time, which caused supply to spike, and it peaked out in August at 356 active listings. All right, so that's supply. Supply went way up during 2022. Now let's look at it on a different graph and pull up this whiteboard here. 1 second. All right. So here's what happened with supply. Now, this is a supply and demand curve. This is Econ 101. I'll go kind of slowly, but it's pretty simple. You'll get it for sure. So we've got supply curve 1 here and demand curve 1 here. All right. So this is where we are sitting in, February, March of this year. Now we go to July, August, where supply has gone way up down here. Okay. So supply curve 2. Now, what happened to price? Price, of course, went down because, let's just say demand has stayed the same, which is what we're saying with this curve here, but supply has increased significantly. I mean, it almost doubled. So what happens? Prices come down. That's the law of supply and demand. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation because this played into it as well. Now, let's look at the demand side. So what was happening to demand during 2022 for housing? Well, let's see. First of all, interest rates went up probably 3 to 4%, depending on what loan product you're looking at. So that immediately took out 30 to 40% of buyers' purchasing power. So that's a huge hit on demand right there. And then more locally for Santa Cruz real estate and the Silicon Valley, a lot of buyers get their funds, their down payment, they sell stocks. So they'll sell stocks, get cash and go put it down on a house. But what was happening in the stock market during Q1, Q2, and Q3 of this year? They were getting hammered. They were getting obliterated. I mean, stocks went off a cliff. And so what happened? We saw 2 things that influenced demand. Interest rates went up and stocks went way down in other financial assets. And so that affected demand in a big way. So this is illustrated here. So we've got S1, the supply curve 1. We've got demand 1. This is where we're sitting, again, beginning of the year. Now let's look at where we are now. Demand has come down. And what does that mean? That means that the price over here on the y-axis has to come down as well. So we go back to the other one. We see that supply has gone up. Demand has gone down. And what does that mean? That means that prices have to come down. And they have started to come down, but not as much as you might think. Parts of LA, parts of actually the Silicon Valley, we've had 20% drops. We've had 25% drops in pricing. In Santa Cruz, we've had about a 5 to 7% drop in prices. That's because overall, the demand to live in Santa Cruz is just crazy. I mean, we're on the Monterey Bay. There's nowhere like it in the rest of the state. We are the beach town for Silicon Valley. You guys know, you live here. There's so much that we have going for us here. And so that keeps a baseline demand pretty solid. All right. So I hope this kind of helped you through some of the supply and demand questions and what is going on in this crazy world. Just remember this: supply went up, demand went down. What happens in that situation? Prices have to come down. And that means as a buyer, you get to go out and negotiate more, which is a lot of fun. I love doing that for my buyers. But as a seller, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. You're going to be fine. Houses, good houses on good streets, if you have a good product, they're still getting multiple offers. They're still selling for more than list price. It's if you have a mediocre offering and you're trying to price it to, March, April, May prices of earlier this year, that you're going to have trouble and your house is going to sit. So if you have any questions about the market, real estate in general, you want to go over this in more depth, give me a call. I'm here for you. If you want to see houses, if you want to sell your house, I'm here. Willie Eagleton, Coldwell Banker. Thank you so much.